There's an adventure inside all of us. Some of us live for that adventure. Others let it take them someplace new. Your adventure begins here at Wind River Resort and Casino. Your adventure begins here at Wind River Resort and Casino.
Good morning, everyone. I want to remind you of an event 9 days from now. We've got several organizations working to help you prevent fraud. And of course, you've got the Senior Medical Patrol, PSA 2 and High Cap all working together to shred fraud, or it's a shred fraud event. And it's going to be Saturday, July 18th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., 1647 Hartnell Avenue. That's where you can go. And you can bring a box filled with open mail, such as Medicare statements, sensitive documents, old bills, and they'll shred it right there on site. So be sure to put this, it's a free drive-through event, be sure to put this in your calendar. Look at some of the cameras out there. That's not what we wanted to do. That was a time lapse actually from a couple of days ago. Kind of fun. We'll take another quick look at it. You can see that they move the dock. This is typically what they do when the lake starts to drop in level. They move the dock out, so you can kind of see there. Who knew? You could just move the whole dock and the boats attached to it in one fell swoop, just like that. And then they ended up moving the lower one closer to it, and we'll take a closer look at that, what it looks like right now. Right now, though, we're looking at temperatures low to mid-60s in the valley, 50s, 60s for the higher elevations, low 50s for the coast, mainly 50s, though, for the higher elevations. Right now, our Divine Sky Cam, looking at the crystal clear blue skies we do have out there. There may be a little bit of haze coming in from the west. It's the milepost 16 I think it's called the milepost. I always forget. I think it's the milepost 16 fire just north of Hoopa. That's actually producing the most smoke. There you can see out towards Lake Shastina. You're looking at the clear skies there this morning, and boy, you're just seeing less and less snow in the mountain there. All right, so that's what it looks like right now as they kind of moved the docks out farther into the lake there. And so that's what it's looking right now at Shasta Lake. This is, of course, the Jones Valley Resort, sponsored by Elwood Ranch. I want to thank Elwood Ranch for their sponsorship of these amazing cameras that we have here at Weather NorCal exclusively. All right, you can see the visibility has dropped a little bit along the coast, as we would expect, as we're starting to see some of that fog along the coast. This is what it looks like right now, Crescent City Harbor District. Overcast skies. We've got Jackie Dixon from Trinidad, actually, out along the coast. Actually, no, what? There we go. Coming in from Trinidad, we've also got Tracy Sackett from MacArthur saying good morning outside of MacArthur. So thank you, too, for checking in this morning. And that's what it looks like in Crescent City and really along the coast in general. So here's a look at your Krueger's Quickcast, Thursday, July 9th. Your skeeter meter. Well, just some quick reminders coming in from the Shasta Mosquito and Vector Control of a few things you can do to prevent your property from becoming a breeding ground for those mosquitoes. Call the Shasta Mosquito and Vector Control if you have any comments, concerns, or questions about mosquitoes where you are. All right, here's out the door this morning. Well, of course, we saw what it looked like, right? Sunny skies, minus the coast where we are seeing that fog. It's going to burn off, I think, a little bit for some of you along the coast by around midday, early afternoon. But otherwise, yeah, you've got kind of clouds surrounding the area. That's because we have high pressure in place, and that's giving us the mainly sunny skies. And not to mention the warmer temperatures that we're going to see in there as well. So again, around midday, you see some of that clearing, but then by late afternoon, evening, that fog returns and the low clouds return along the coast. All right, this is one of those days that if you have a pool, or if you have access to a pool, or maybe heading out to the lake, it's a day you want to do it, because temperatures in the north end of the valley in particular will be over 100 degrees. And just a friendly reminder of Mindy's safety tip of the week, you know, those floaties that you put on the kiddos here and inflatable armbands, they're fun toys, but they are not safety devices. For more on that and those safety devices and what's best way to keep your kids safe, you can always go to weathernorcal.com. You can also get it from the Weather NorCal app. And Mindy Odell has some amazing safety tips on there for you, and we'll be including new ones each week throughout the summer. All right, there's a look at your temperatures for today. Yeah, this is the spike in the temperatures we were talking about for the valley in particular. Even the mountains will see that spike in the temperatures, but we're going to be approaching 105 degrees for the north end of the valley. But Chico, you may actually dodge the triple digits for today. And then there you can see temperatures generally in the 90s for the higher elevations, low to mid 60s for the coast. It's getting more mild overnight, isn't it? We may struggle to get out of the 70s overnight in the valley. 50s, 60s for the higher elevations, and upper 40s to low 50s for the coast. So looking at your 7-day outlook, the average high for Redding, I think, is going to be 100 to 105 all the way through next Wednesday, if not through all of next week. For Red Bluff, we'll shave off a degree or two from Redding, and then Chico, upper 90s to about 100 degrees for the next 7 to 10 days. For the coast, upper 50s, low 60s, you'll see some clearing. We'll call it partly to mostly cloudy. Inland, upper 80s, low 90s. And for Trinity County, mid to upper 90s and maybe around 100 degrees, but still dry. Dry for Siskiyou County as well for the next 7 days. But we will see more clouds over the weekend, in particular on Sunday. But you'll also notice for Siskiyou and, for Modoc County and the Eastern Mountains, we could see a chance for maybe some showers and thunderstorms. I'm kind of starting to pinpoint it a little bit more now toward Monday, but it's going to be around Sunday, Monday we'll have to watch. It's beginning to look like Tuesday, Wednesday, that monsoonal moisture may work its way on out of here. All right, let's take a look at the latest on all of the fires. All right, this is the 3-1 pit fire. This is one a couple of days ago that created a lot of concern. All of the areas in yellow, as you can see there, are evacuation warnings. That means get ready. Be prepared to leave at a moment's notice, as it could change very rapidly. It is latest report is a little over 1,000 acres at 20% containment. Now, this one popped up yesterday. There are no new reports early this morning, but latest report was about 10 acres with 0% containment. This one is in extreme northern Lassen County, as you can see, kind of to the south of Alturas and southeast of the Aden area. We take you out to the Milepost 16 fire, and this one is not a whole lot of reports coming out of this one either. Just under 10 acres, 0% containment. Highway 96 is still closed, folks. So if you're heading out in that area, not a good idea. And there you can see some of the evacuation warnings that we do have north of Hoopa. That is, of course, associated with that Milepost 16 fire. Now, we do have a fire weather watch for northeastern portions of California, in particular Modoc County, and that does extend northward into southeastern Oregon. I would expect that the Weather Service may also include eventually Lassen and Plumas counties, because it's going to be a little gusty and dry at times over the next few days, and that's really the main reason. We don't anticipate any showers and thunderstorms at least until around Monday. Now, the smoke, it looks like the Milepost 16 fire is the one producing most of the smoke. And later this evening into tonight, and maybe even into tomorrow morning, it looks like most of that smoke will be north of Highway 299 in northern Trinity County, working its way into Shasta County. And I'd expect that even tomorrow morning, there may be a little bit of haze, maybe a little bit of smoke, even in the Redding area. All right, let's take a look at the winds, and nothing really concerning for today. It's tomorrow that you'll notice the winds picking up, not only in Modoc County, but this is what I was talking about. You know, the fire weather watch may be extended into Lassen and Plumas counties, because you can start to see some of the lighter shades of orange in there. That's gusts upwards of 30 miles per hour. But we're also seeing those winds pick up a little bit from the south in the valley as well. Now, Saturday, the wind subsiding a little bit going into your Sunday. Again, nothing major as far as the winds are concerned. But the humidity levels are, here's where it gets a little more interesting. So the numbers on your screen are the humidity levels. And we take a look at the fire weather risk, which combines temperature, humidity, and winds. You can see we're kind of getting that elevated risk. Now, it's starting to get more and more of a common occurrence where the valley, mountains north of the valley, and mountains east of the valley all have that same kind of elevated fire weather risk. Starting to see more fuels in these areas. So as you can see, Friday, more of that elevated risk. Saturday, once again, that elevated fire weather risk. But take a look at Sunday. Notice how those deep, deep oranges and reds are getting into the picture. We're now getting into the high, borderline extreme category for the valley. As you see those humidity levels, they're down well down into the single digits for the valley. So this is going to be a day that we really need to be extra cautious. However, I would like to note one thing. We are seeing the potential for some of that monsoon moisture working in on Sunday. If that happens, that would probably bring those humidity levels up a bit because number one, temperatures may not be as hot, and number two, monsoonal moisture. That's moisture, right? That would increase our humidity levels and maybe feel a little bit more muggy than we're used to. We'll see. So a little bit of discrepancy in our models that we're seeing here, but Sunday is certainly a day to watch. By the way, throughout the day, 24/7, it's always there, weathernorcal.com. It's also available on the free Weather NorCal app, and there's also on the 24-hour channel fire updates regularly as well. But you can always check the latest at weathernorcal.com. Click on the fire danger section. And this will, of course, give you all of the latest on the fires, any evacuation warnings or orders that may be in the area around the fires. It's always going to be continuously updated. So go to weathernorcal.com, click on fire danger, and you'll get all of the information that you need. All right, before we get into that deeper dive forecast, another tour of some of the cameras, just kind of so you can see what it looks like maybe where you live. If you live in Redding, that's what it looks like, right? Just a beautiful clear day, cooling off a little bit, but fairly mild to start off the day. There's a look at Shasta Lake. This is the Jones Valley Resort. They just recently moved the docks, and now we've got a new location here. But still, looking at crystal clear blue skies out there, the water looking refreshing. Taking a look at Lake Shastina Golf Resort, sponsored by Elwood Ranch. All right, yeah, looking like a clear start to the day there in Siskiyou County. Here's what it looks like from a different perspective, looking at Mount Shasta. That Soda Ridge camera, seeing those clear skies. This is Lassen Park. You may not live there, but maybe you're going to be visiting. You can see that we've got those crystal clear blue skies there as well. Out in Oroville, we've got clear skies there, turning out to be a clear start to the day, really across the board. It's the coast where we're seeing most of that low clouds and fog. That's also the case in Chico. All right, here it is, Crescent City Heart. There's the fog, right? There is the low clouds that we are seeing. Bald Hill West. This is looking down at Hoopa Valley. Now, this is not fog that you're seeing there on your screen. This is the haze and the smoke coming in from the fire just north of Hoopa. So we are seeing some of that smoke out there. Now, out in Fort Jones, this is looking out at Scott Valley. Of course, you know, that's kind of how this all works, right? All these little valleys. So we're not seeing any smoke up into Siskiyou County either. All right, we all know that coffee with Krueger and Weather NorCal in general would not be possible without our sponsors. That's the beauty of what I do. It is free for you. And we have sponsors to help pay for all of this because there's a lot that goes on, right? I've got some weather people that work for me. I've got a lot of equipment that requires regular maintenance. I've got data fees for the weather computer. By the way, that weather computer that I have, this is a weather computer you are going to see at many organizations all across the nation. So there, you know, no holds barred here, folks. We've got all of the latest equipment right here at Weather NorCal. And just because I'm out on my own doesn't mean I have to sacrifice the equipment. I've got the best that you can get. There you go. But that all costs money, right? So we've got sponsors. And the primary sponsor of Coffee with Krueger is Wind River Resort and Casino.
Time to kick back, forget about your trouble, and have a good time. Wind River Resort and Casino is proud to welcome Uncle Cracker back to the Event Center stage Friday, August 14th. Drift away with his signature laid-back blend of country, pop, and rock, spiked with a splash of hip-hop. Tickets for this feel-good summertime show start at just $25 plus fees. Smile as you enjoy over 2 decades of multi-platinum top charters. Reserve tickets today at windriver.com. Your adventure begins here. Wind River Resort and Casino.
All right, the show is Coffee with Krueger. Here I got my coffee mug here, sipping a cup of coffee here. Want to get that last little sip before we go into the deeper dive because, yeah, we're going to go into some more detail here. So for those of you that are new to Weather NorCal or just kind of discovering or whatever, There are two sections to my main forecast in Coffee with Krueger, the morning update and the evening update. I do what's called a Krueger's Quickcast. At the very top, we just kind of quickly go over the forecast for those of you that are in a hurry. But those of you who maybe want more detail, we go into all of the kind of descriptions, we go into more longer range forecast, and that's what the deeper dive forecast is all about. So let's get you right to it. Coffee with Krueger. This is a look at our weather headlines. There is a fire weather watch. This is for Modoc County, but won't take effect until tomorrow. Valley highs are here getting fairly hot. They're going to be hovering around 100 degrees. North end of the valley, Redding, 100 to 105. Southern end of the valley around Chico, you'll probably be in the upper 90s to around 100 degrees here. And then for the mountains, generally 90s. Some areas, upper 90s, other areas, upper 80s to low 90s. Just depending on where you are and your elevation. And I'm also tracking the potential for some monsoonal moisture working its way up from the desert southwest. We're going to talk about all of that in the deeper dive forecast. Let's start with the temperatures out there right now. It is on the mild side. Look at Chico, still at 70 degrees. And by this time tomorrow, we may be looking at warmer temperatures because the warmer air is now in place. Temperatures 50s and 60s for the higher elevations, and looks like for the coast, you're in the low 50s. So you can see a couple of things that we're looking at the satellite image here. Spinning area of low pressure, that probably won't have much impact on us. You see the votive clouds right here, that's the ridge of high pressure. That's giving us the mainly sunny skies, minus the fog along the coast. But no big surprises, right? The heat that's over the Southern California is going to be working its way back to its home base, which is really the desert southwest and western United States in general. This is where we typically have this, what we call a four corners high. It's a little bit more to the north than the typical four corners, but it's kind of in its general area. This is also the area you hear more about the monsoonal moisture, and it kind of just parks itself there, hangs out throughout the summer. Now, there are times that monsoon moisture can work its way into Northern California, but it all depends on this ridge of high pressure and its positioning, which we'll get into that a little bit later on that monsoonal moisture. But really the heat is going to continue to stick around. But the main bubbles, the main domes of heat are off to our west and off to our east. So not as hot as it could be. And I know that's hard to believe when we're talking 100 to 105 in Redding, right? But you can bet if this or even this was right on top of us, we'd be talking 110 degrees plus. So these storm systems that are riding over Canada to our north, those are what are helping to kind of keep our temperatures in check at least a little bit. Because again, we look at the 10-day trend, the normal high for Redding is about 99 to 100 degrees. Where are we going to be? Well, just slightly above that. As I mentioned, for Redding, about 100 to 105 over the next 10 days. But Chico, more like upper 90s to lower 100s. All right, so here's a look at Futurecast. Let's take a look first of all through the weekend. So you can see here in the morning, we're actually seeing a little bit of clearing midday. But by the afternoon, evening, we start to see those clouds move back in for the coast. Some afternoon clouds will continue over the next few days for the higher elevations, but otherwise mainly sunny skies. Saturday, we actually may see more clearing along the coast, mainly clear skies there. But look at this. You see all the cloud cover moving in? This is an association with that monsoonal moisture I was talking about. Now, as of right now, there's nothing organized, as you can see here, as far as rain is concerned. At this point, I'm going to keep it dry on Sunday across the board. But what you will notice, anywhere you are, including the valley, mountains, coast, is there'll be a lot more mid and high level clouds working their way in. So it'll feel a little bit more overcast out there. And even though it will be more overcast, it's still going to be on the warm side. Here's the longer range. And I'm showing you the European forecast model because it has been, at the very least, the most consistent with that monsoonal moisture moving in. It hasn't been very consistent though with the overall timing. So it all has to do with this area of high pressure right here. So as we go into the weekend, there's Sunday. The area of high pressure, as you saw, is just north of the Four Corners region. Now, the flow around high pressure is clockwise. So depending on the positioning of that area of high pressure, what happens is the flow goes around. This is the home of where all that monsoon moisture is, right? So you get that flow around that high. What happens? It taps into that monsoon moisture, and then it transports that monsoon moisture around that flow into Northern California. Now, if we were to take this, shift it more to the east, what happens? This moves eastward as well, meaning we lose that tap into that monsoon moisture. However, if this shifts a little bit more to the west, this also moves to the west, and we start to see more areas getting more of that monsoon moisture, places like Trinity County and even the North Coast. But I think overall that upper level flow will at least bring in those mid and high level clouds come Sunday and even into Monday. Now, where we see the most amount of that monsoon moisture and the potential for thunderstorms would be, I would say, along the spine of the Sierra and maybe even into parts of Modoc County. And at this point, it's looking more like a Monday type of event. So let's take you into Monday. There's Monday right there. You see some of those afternoon showers and thunderstorms popping up. But then in the meantime, we're watching this ridge of high pressure shift eastward. And remember what I was saying, when we see that shift to the east, that all that flow is now off to our south and east, and we're no longer caught up within that flow, and we see that monsoon moisture move on out. So I think it's mainly going to be Sunday, Monday. We've got the best potential for, at the very least, more clouds moving in, but maybe even a chance for some areas in the mountains seeing some scattered showers and thunderstorms. The overall extent of that, still a bit of a question mark, but I think at this point it's mainly the spine of the Sierra and the southern Cascades. And of course, we continue with that trend of the monsoon moisture down to our south and east, where it typically is by the end of next week. Lake levels are still looking very healthy. They don't look it from a standpoint of we're seeing a lot more of the shoreline, especially around Shasta Lake, but that's normal for this time of the year. As you can see, we're still about 100% of our historical average. Taking a look at the wave heights, still fairly high, at least to start the day, but later today and into tomorrow, we'll see them begin to drop. So good news if you do need to be on a small boat. Taking a look at your marine forecast for today, northwest winds at 10 to 15 knots. They will probably start to subside later today with that small craft advisory eventually expiring later on this evening. Your neighborhood forecast sponsored by Dignity Health and Grange Co-op. We've got those temperatures. It's getting warmer. I mean, even in Trinity County, some of you could touch 100. Places like Weaverville, Douglas City, Lewiston could see about 100, as well as Trinity Center, a little bit cooler off to the west with upper 80s to low 90s there. Take a look at the North Coast, partly to mostly cloudy skies. 60 will be that average high for the next 7 days. Inland, we're going to be looking at temperatures mainly in the 80s and 90s. By Monday, Tuesday, you're up to about 95 degrees. And take note, pretty much across the board, everyone's going to see what I'm calling just for is mostly cloudy skies on Sunday, but dry. And I do expect still a few lingering clouds, especially in the mountains on Monday, but I think dry conditions also for Siskiyou County at that point. However, you'll notice for Modoc County, I have included a chance for showers, maybe even a few thunderstorms come Monday. It was looking like maybe Tuesday as well, but latest models are now pushing that monsoon moisture out of here by Tuesday. So for Susanville as well, mainly just Monday is when we can see that best potential for those showers and thunderstorms. For the valley, I'm also including that mostly cloudy skies for your Sunday. But again, you'll notice temperatures not dropping much as a result. Looking at your 7-day forecast for Chico, generally upper 90s, but it looks like maybe around 100 by Sunday through Wednesday of next week. Take you up to the north. We could see anywhere from 102 to 105 degrees, 105 for Palo Cedro, 102 in Red Bluff, and 104 in Redding. Your 7-day forecast for Redding, yeah, we see a little drop in the temperatures. We go from 104 to 100. Isn't that crazy? 100 is, oh, that's much nicer than 104. Well, it is, right? And then 103, 102 on Monday, Tuesday, back up to about 104 to 105 degrees by the time we get in Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So that summer heat I've been talking about, it has finally arrived. And we're going to notice it today, and it's going to stick around here. This is your typical summer pattern, folks. There's nothing unusual about the heat that we're experiencing. However, that being said, that does not mean it's not dangerous. We still need to do whatever we can to protect ourselves, stay hydrated, take plenty of breaks in the shade, air conditioning if you can, especially if you work outdoors. This is also that time of the year where a lot of contractors, people who do work outdoors, try to get their work done early in the morning. That's why I try to get that forecast out early in the morning. For those of you that work early, you can always check that latest forecast. I usually try to have it uploaded between around 5 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes maybe even a little bit earlier than that. So it just depends on what's going on here. Sometimes I get a little busy and it may take a little bit longer. All right, some of you, let's see, Curtis Brown saying, good morning, Mike. A bit warmer this morning. Yeah, it is, and it'll probably be even warmer for tomorrow. You're asking, will we be getting north winds on the weekend? I'm not seeing north winds. I'm seeing more of a southerly flow of winds. That can help. As we know, those north winds tend to really dry things out even more, but it's still going to be dry nonetheless. But we've also got to watch that monsoon moisture, especially by Sunday. If that monsoon moisture works in, we don't have to worry about those humidity levels being too low because they'll go up, usually as a result, and it tends to feel a bit more muggy than we are used to. The summer on the coast doesn't really hit until mid-August. Yeah, so what do they call it? Always kind of the May gray, the June gloom, and then of course as we go into July, it's that transition phase, right? Before August, right? You start seeing a little bit more sunshine. So yes, thank you, Jackie. That is definitely the case. As a local there, always good to get those insights from those of you that live on the coast. So let's check out the calendar for today. We've got a couple of things here. Oh, I wanted to show you this too. I meant to do this during the fire weather update, but I forgot. This is coming in from our satellite image from yesterday. So the milepost 16 fire, if you look all across Northern California, because as you know, we've got a couple of other fires out there, we're not seeing smoke, at least visible smoke from the satellite from those fires. However, the one that is bringing us visible smoke and producing the most amount of smoke is the milepost 16 fire north of Hoopa in Humboldt County. So as you can see here, yesterday, that's where the smoke was. Now with the upper level flow of winds, it's pushing that smoke to the south and southeast, actually more to the east-southeast. And as we go into today and tonight and tomorrow, I think we'll start to see more of that smoke working its way into Trinity County and possibly even into the north end of the valley around the Redding area. No guarantees on that. It depends on just how active the fire gets today, but it could... Oh, there you go. That's what I was talking about. Now you can look at it. All right, so once again, let's just kind of hash what I was talking about. Looking at Northern California, the main area where we're seeing visible smoke from the satellite is from the milepost 16 fire. So again, yesterday it was mainly being pushed down to the south and east. I expect if the fire is as active as it was yesterday, maybe even more active, we may see more smoke be produced by that fire, and it may move into northern Trinity and even to the north end of the valley by late tonight and into tomorrow. But you can clearly see that smoke plume of smoke from yesterday, and we'll probably see another plume of smoke from that same fire as we take you into today. All right, this is what led me to this. Now we're going to talk about the calendar. What's our national days? Well, National Sugar Cookie Day. So my question to you is, where is your favorite place to get a sugar cookie? Now, we all know homemade cookies are awesome, but if you were to go out to a place locally where you live, where do you like to go for your sugar cookies? Do you like them frosted? I know I do. Also, National Dimples Day. When I smile, I don't have dimples. But maybe you do. Maybe you know somebody has dimples. If you see somebody who smiles and has dimples, say Happy National Dimples Day. And that's something they can celebrate. And of course, July 9th, birthdays and events. You know what? This kind of reminds me. You know, my mother who passed, gosh, it's been many, many years ago. Today would be her birthday. And I believe she would be in her 80s, at least, early 80s. So let me think about that for a second. She passed when she was 61, so yeah, it was over 20 years ago. Mother, miss you. All right, so here you go. Let's look at the holidays. Let's take a look at another look at that 7-day forecast and see what some of you have to say this morning. We got Tracy. She's saying, thanks, Krueger. Thanks, Mike Krueger. Hope everyone has a great day. Stay cool out there. And we've got Shirley saying, good morning, 73 degrees at 6:30 this morning in North Redding on the Ridgecrest. So there you go. We're getting that time of the year now. Those overnight lows, those morning lows, they're not quite as cool as I'm sure we would like them to be. So be prepared for a fairly hot day. If you work outdoors, if you're going to be outdoors for any extended period of time, do me a favor. Just think about it. Think about water, right? Staying hydrated. Think about breaks in the shade. And more importantly, if you can, think about breaks in the air conditioning. So Just a friendly reminder, I know you all are smart enough to know that, but sometimes you just kind of need to put it in the back of your brain, in the back of your mind when you're out there working, to stop what you're doing and protect yourself. Oh, thank you, Jackie, saying happy birthday to my mama. Thank you very much. Happy birthday, Mom. All right, well, that is going to do it for us this morning. We're going to leave you with a couple of cameras in the area, and of course, I'm so excited. We've got these great new cameras here at Weather NorCal, 3 new ones, and I am hoping to grow this camera network this and next year. I've got some plans to reach out to different areas, and I know what you're thinking. Some of you may live in some of these mountain communities and you'd like a camera. Here's what I want you to do. If you live in any of these communities, if you live in Bernie, I'd love for you to help me out. Talk to some people in town. See if they're interested in having a camera put up. Also in Chester, Lake Almanor, kind of that area. I'd love to have one put up in Weaverville. I'd love to have one maybe even put up in the Hayfork area. Also along the coast, Crescent City. I know that there's one that I have access to, but I'd like for one that Weather NorCal has. It's the Weather NorCal camera. I'd also like to have one put in Eureka as well, out towards the Alturas area. I love a camera out there, and maybe even a camera out in the Susanville area as well. And if you think of any other places, let me know. But I want this camera network to grow. I want there to be some good representation for some areas. There's a lot of great cameras from the fire, from all the fire cameras, but a lot of them are not within the communities themselves, and that's really what I want to focus on. So during the winter, we can, and I'll kind of leave with this camera that we have here, but during the winter, I like to, maybe look at the camera in Bernie and go, oh, look, it's snowing in Bernie, right? Or the camera in Chester. Oh, look, it's snowing in Chester. So I'd love to be able to have that opportunity to do that. So yeah, that's kind of the thought. But this one right here, I want to thank Kenny Elwood from Elwood Ranch, also from Divine Restaurant, which, by the way, my family and I went over to Divine Restaurant yesterday, had just an awesome time. The staff there is super, super friendly. We stayed out on the patio. We ate on the patio and had amazing food. So if you haven't checked out Divine Restaurant yet, I highly recommend it. But in the meantime, of course, again, those cameras, this is sponsored by Divine Restaurant and, of course, Kenny Elwood. And you can see just the beautiful camera that we have there. Also, taking a look at the one out in the Lake Shastina Golf Resort, sponsored by Elwood Ranch. There you can see the sunny skies that we have there. And the third camera that we have here, exclusive to Weather NorCal, I love this one. It's out on Shasta Lake at the Shasta Lake Resort, or excuse me, the Jones Valley Resort. And this is also sponsored by Elwood Ranch. For those of you that have a boat or frequently go to this Jones Valley Resort, you have now access to a camera to see what conditions are like there all year round. By the way, I'd love to get another one put up on Lake Shasta, but overlooking the lake from maybe one of the mountain or from one of the side mountains there. So a lot of great ideas, a lot of great things I want to do here with these cameras. And again, I want to thank Kenny Elwood from Elwood Ranch for helping to kind of get this project kick-started, because it's something I've been thinking about for the last couple of years, and I'm glad to see it kind of come to fruition. So once again, thank you all so much for watching this morning. I hope you all have yourselves a great day, and we will see you once again as we take you into tomorrow morning for your Finally Friday. Yes, it's going to be Friday tomorrow, getting ready for the weekend. Have a great day.